Hello there and welcome back. My name is Elena.
And I'm Photios. And this is the Game Court.
And today's video is all about a game review.
And today we're reviewing Pampero. Pampero is a 1 to 4 player game designed by Julian Pombo and published by APE Games. Pampero is a game that comes in a very big box that does not fit here. So instead of having here the game in display for you, we have the boxes of the two expansions of the game basically that came with the game. It's maybe I would say one of the biggest boxes
we've had
in our collection, yes.
Gloomhaven is obviously bigger because Gloomhaven is bigger than anything. But apart from that, I think it's the second biggest box we've had in our collection so far.
The cover of the game is as big as Vitalis Games, Eagle Griffin Games, but the thickness of the game is even more than that.
In Pampero, you build wind farms, plenty of them. There's a gazillion wind farms on your board over there. And you will try to expand and improve your grid to master the energy market. So technically you are an energy investor of some sort. Well, you technically build a lot of things around. It's not very personalized.
Or you maybe own a company. Yes.
Electrical companies don't work that way. You don't build everything, do you? You just build like some bits, like wind farms. You don't build the whole lot, do you? Maybe I'm a bit ignorant.
But now that I'm thinking, the tiles that you have, the asymmetric powers of the tiles, they have kind of, names of electrical companies.
Electrical companies.
Yes. So
anyhow, there's a company that you have or you represent, and you build the wind farms and you build your electrical towers. Then you obviously have a little bulldozer around that kind of bulldozes around for you and prepares the ground for you to build on top. And then you build some transformers in the places where you have fulfilled contracts so you can expand your energy.
The game is played over an undefined number of rounds because, the players will dictate the tempo of the game, how fast they're going to progress on this track over there. And during the game, there are going to be 3 scoring phases. And there's no points really in this game. Money is points. So what they do is to collect the most money or to basically become richer as the game progresses. You start with 25 money and, you may finish with 35 money or you may finish with 150 money. Doesn't matter.
Not to mention that this game actually takes place in Uruguay, and Uruguay is neighbored by Brazil and by Argentina, which you can trade with.
One of the cool aspects of the game is how you play your cards, because usually in your turn you're going to play a card and do that action. That is one of the basic things you can do, or you can retrieve cards, which is a bit less usual, maybe 1 or 2 times per game, or you can just take a battery, which we're using for filling contracts or trades with the other countries. But usually what you're going to do, you're going to play a card on your tableau.
On the vast majority.
Correct.
And every player has 2 boards. One is just made for your cards, and you have a myriad of spaces at the top and at the bottom to place your cards. And then you have a board on the left-hand side which represents the electrical grid.
Yes, and that board also has a lot of information.
A lot of things on it.
All your wooden pieces are stored there and you unlock them slowly. So you have your electrical towers that unlock parts of the grid and parts of the income that you can take.
I must say, the electrical towers do unlock both parts because they're kind of in the middle.
Yes.
So they unlock both parts of
bottom,
your board. You cannot go forward, and if you do, still have electrical towers there.
But going on the other player board, the card player board, what you do in your turn basically, you take one of the cards and you play it on your card player board, either on the top row or on the bottom row on the leftmost empty position. And depending on how you position it, the card will dictate, the interaction of the card with your board will dictate in which region of your map you can act, and that is build or fulfill a contract or whatever you can do.
Whichever interaction, isn't it?
Exactly. How much is going to cost, and also the combination of the information of the board and the card, what it's going to cost and what is the action as well. And some positions allow you to interact with some of the regions and not other regions, like the top row it's only for A and B, whereas the bottom row is for B and C. And the more cards you play in a row, the less expensive becomes.
Yeah, they become cheaper and cheaper, which is quite nice. So you have to think wisely whether you want to retrieve all your cards at one point, especially when you get towards the end where an A card would cost nothing, which is quite nice.
And the cool aspect of the game is that for most of the actions, you can interact with the opponent species as well. So if you have to pay something, if you use your own equipment, your own towers, let's say to fulfill contracts, or your own dozers for bulldozers, to build something like farms or towers, then you pay to the bank. But I can also use Elena's species on the board, but I'll have to pay Elena for that.
Which is nice, but not nice because I don't want to give too much to my opponent and that they have a lot of money to build. I don't want to do that. The vast majority of things that you will try to do in this game, apart from building electrical stuff around, is to fulfill contracts, because this is the only way you can get money. And you can fulfill a myriad of contracts, standard contracts, remote or solar contracts. They'll give you different kind of benefits. Particularly the remote and the standard ones will let you put your electrical transformers on the board, which looks very, very pleasant to the eye. But in our game, the games that we've played, they didn't do much. So I'm not sure why you put them on the board, but they're there for you to have. I have no idea why they're there.
So you could just take the contract out, right? Yeah. I think there are some gold tiles, and the game comes with a myriad of gold tiles, that some of them interact with the transformers, and what number of transformers you have out, 1 to 7 I think they go.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is like on a you have so many transformers on your personal board, and you put them out every time you do a contract on the board, that I don't understand the point of just putting them. That's my point. So like they don't really do anything unless you score at the end, kind of thing.
You could just track this information by having the contracts. Which the contracts, the full contracts are coming to your player.
They come to your player anyway. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So you can see there what's what. Exactly. I agree.
Anyhow. Oh, and there's another type of contract that I forgot to mention. That's an international contract. I think it's an international.
The
contract.
Trade, you mean? Yeah.
The trade that you do with either Brazil. Hello, boo boo. With Brazil, or you can trade with Argentina. I was about to say Brazil and Brazil, and they give you. These contracts give you mainly just income from wherever you are on the grid.
Yeah, correct. The other 3 contracts, standard, remote, and solar, they improve your income markers. So whenever at the end of the round you get some income from all of the industries, there are some houses, there are some factories, commercial, industry, holiday resorts, yes. Yes, but the trade, basically, they don't improve your income, but they give you money right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, all of these are represented by tracks, which I don't know whether you've mentioned. Have we mentioned
No, I haven't mentioned
They're all represented by tracks, and they are above your power grids, and you can advance by getting the regular contracts that you would do apart from the international ones.
There are other stuff in the game that, they're around the game board. Like, for instance, whenever you build an electrical tower, you get of these 2 blue tiles.
Yes, like 2 benefits kind of thing.
Exactly. And there are ongoing benefits or instant benefits or end of game scoring. Or, for instance, there is also some 2 decks of cards that you can take to improve your own deck of cards, which can help you in the scoring phases or can help you with additional action cards.
Yeah, like boosted action cards.
Exactly.
But you only get these cards, we have to mention, these cards are only taken at some particular points in the game, and it's only if you pass this point that you get the cards. You don't just get the cards because you cannot purchase them or anything like that.
And a round is complete after each player has taken 3 actions, and which are again usually playing card or retrieving cards or whatever. And after the 3 actions, have this consolidation phase where income happens, for instance, and we always retrieve 1 card from our board as well.
The most recent one, whether it's in the top side or the bottom side.
And then you also may produce batteries depending on how much energy you have at that moment on your board. And this is a good decision space of the game, because you want to spend the energy to fulfill contracts, but also you want to keep your energy to produce batteries.
The art is very pleasant to the eye, and I think it's Ian O'Toole. Yes, of course it is Ian O'Toole.
It is Ian O'Toole, yes, right. You can...
The art is very pleasant to the eye, the palette and whatnot is all very pleasant to the eye, and it's very easy iconographically speaking. Iconographically. Why did I choose to do that? Anyhow.
Symbologically speaking.
Speaking. It's very easy to the eye, but this is his style and we're very used to it. All the components are very chunky. Everything is, I think it's super upgraded as it could be upgraded. I mean, is it overly produced? maybe.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, a bit too much of much. I think there are a lot of big elements there that could have been done smaller. There are a lot of wooden pieces, which again we appreciate very much, but could they have been smaller? They could have been smaller, and they have nice inserts inside that are very nice, but again, the box has a lot of padding inside for the inserts not to move because there's plenty of empty space inside.
Nice insert
Yeah.
though, useful insert.
I'm not saying everything
Yeah.
about the game is very nice, but it's a bit OTT, I think.
Okay. Theme-wise, for me particularly, the theme works in the game because you use your wind farms to produce energy, you use your electric towers to expand your network, you use your transformers to supply energy to the different industries. So thematically, the game works for me. Not potentially to a degree that Kanban works when it comes, let's say, to heavy Euro games, but I think it's not bad implementation of the theme. And I like also the energy theme and also renewable energy. As we said, the game plays from 1 to 4 players. The length of the game, I think, according to BGG, is up to 150 minutes. I want to say, let me double check that. Yes, it's up to 150 minutes, but I don't think it's as heavy as other games of this league, like other Vitala Seta games, for instance. I think our first game with rule explanation took us about 2 hours for 2 players, so not extremely long. The second game took us even less. The setup is a bit involving, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit fiddly, I would
Yeah,
say.
but the game, I don't think it's that long. It doesn't really overstay its welcome, I think, in that sense. Rulebook is quite easy, thick, as always. When it comes to these heavy games, you have a thick rulebook, so you have to pay attention to every detail and how everything interacts. But I think it's quite well written.
Righty, yeas and nays.
Yes, nice, yes.
Are you happy to start?
I'm happy to start.
I am happy to start too.
You start.
You start.
Oh, no, please.
No, I insist.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. So I will start with yes, I guess, right? So one yay for me is the production. To be honest with you.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
The production? Yeah, okay. So yes, I'm not very fan of this very thick box because it occupies a lot of shelf space when it comes to the thickness of the box. It could be smaller. Some components are not really necessary, like Elena was saying, the transformers, but still I think the production of the game is quite good. You have dual layer boards, you have nice metal coins.
Everything is like triple layered, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Every little like cardboard piece that is in there is about like this thick.
Yeah, the tiles are nice. All the production I think is very nice, chunky, silk print components from both sides. Very important in my opinion. Why not all publishers do that? I don't know. But yeah, still yet again.
Because you don't pay £150 every time you buy a game.
Yes. It's an expensive game, so you pay for the production, obviously. But still, I think the production is very good.
One of the yays for me is the theme itself. I think we should all be a bit more aware of what's good for the planet and, what's good for us and how we can use all these resources that we have already available and stuff like that. I think the theme is very nice. I've not seen it before. We've not played a game that has this kind of theme, and I'm not trying to push my own agenda because it's not my agenda. But I think it's nice to see a theme that is part of reality and is not about trains from an economical standpoint.
That's correct. And also I have to say that particularly for the theme, it now came to my mind, you have these different regions in the map, right? A, B and C. And A produce less energy than B and B produce less energy than C. And that's because, C is on the coastal
area, yes.
So it's a bit more windy. So, you build a wind farm so you produce way more energy. So even in that perspective, the game makes sense thematically. And I really like that. Another yay from my side is how you play cards in this game. You have this board and you select how you position your card, left or right, depending on which region you activate. So it's a bit restrictive and you have a limited number of cards to play. So if you play an action now, you have to be careful because you don't have this action again available later on unless you spend an action to retrieve your cards. So I really like this puzzly aspect of the game and interaction of your board with a card, how you place it.
Right, let's go to nays then.
Let's go to nays.
I'm happy to start.
You start?
I think the game is simple compared to how big the box is.
Yes, the ratio.
The ratio
Of size.
of the complexity. For us, I think it matters very much that when you invest a lot of money and the box is very big, that the game gives you a lot of play, and at the end of the day everybody wants the same thing. Like, you buy a whole Gloomhaven box and it costs a lot of money and it's a ginormous box, but you get like months and months of play worth of game in one single box, whereas this one is one of the biggest boxes we have in our collection, and we finished playing the game in an hour and a half on our second game in 2 players, which ultimately is a bit deflating.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think there's a bad trend in board games these days. Make the box bigger and bigger and bigger. They make the components
Chunkier, bigger,
chunkier.
yeah.
And it's nice and pleasant to the eye, but the whole purpose of this is to basically gain more profit for the publishers, I would say. I don't think everybody's following this Eagle Griffon trend of Vital Lacerda games, the big box, and because our box is big, apparently our game is also good and heavy and whatever. I don't think it works the whole thing. I would appreciate if even Eagle Griffon, even Vital Lacerda games were coming in 2 different price tags,
Yeah,
2 different editions.
Just tame it down a little.
Exactly.
I mean, not everybody wants all the big pieces. Not everybody wants to pay for all the luxury, though. And I think that if you as a publisher, I think that you should make, as a designer, you should make your games available for a myriad of people, because everybody, if you make your games available, it's most likely that more people will play them, and that's the whole idea of publishing games, I guess.
What is wrong with Devil games and 25-pound boxes of
We played most of them,
and
innit?
White Castle? Yes. My first nay is that the campaign went quite well for this project, the Kickstarter campaign. But my nay is that I feel that the publisher and developers decide to spend money on the production of the product rather than spend money on the actual development of the product. That's my biggest nay. So for me, the gameplay overall is a bit dull. You do the same thing repeatedly. There is no really a great sense of development in any sense. It seems that even fulfilling this contract sometimes is not worth your effort or the resource you put into that.
Yeah, you finally fulfill a contract, which is again not very hard. You just get some energy, and the way you get
income,
energy
yes.
is you build a wind farm. Build a wind farm gives you energy. Do a contract,
Spend the energy,
and then the contract lets you go up on a track. That's about it. That's about it.
I think it would be nice if the developers would put a bit more effort in actually developing the game, make it a bit more, I don't know. It has some
more elegant.
Exactly. It has some good ideas. It has some good mechanics in the game. Like again, how your card play is done is actually quite smart.
That's neat. Yes.
Yeah.
But you would want to see fresh ideas and a bit of thought in all the little details in the play, because it's very clunky. It's very hard to play the game itself. Not hard to play from a rule perspective, because rules are fairly simple and you only do 3 simple actions which are very short in nature. So the game is fairly short for what it is. I think it takes longer at the end of the round to actually, mop up everything and get your ink up and stuff like that, rather than the play the actions is literally if you play a card to build a wind farm, you play a card, you put a wind farm out, and that's it. That's your action. That's about it.
Don't spend all this money in stretch goals, in expansions that potentially few are going to play. Just spend the same money. Or keep the expansion content for a year down the line or 2 years down the line, and spend the same amount of money in actually developing the base game.
There are a lot of campaigns in a lot of games these days where they stretch a game. Instead of putting all these good ideas into one game, they sell it as a base game and an expansion when it's clearly just one game that they've chopped off in 5 million pieces.
Yeah.
I dislike this kind of attitude very much. It's not towards the players anymore. It's just towards profit, which doesn't make I think you're in the wrong industry if you're there for the profit. My next nay is, I think, more or less related to what we've spoken so far. The box is ginormous, and again, could have been smaller, everything could have been smaller. It's not just that the box is ginormous and everything is very big. There are a lot of empty spaces inside. God knows why. It makes 0 sense in my head.
Maybe few expansions.
Oh, Christ alive. Why would you make something so big to just... I understand it's for profit and whatnot, and it just looks like a game that's super popular, but it's just like so like bleh and underwhelming. Why would you ever use these kind of tactics? It makes zero sense in my head. Instead of making something elegant, and I'm sure that this could have been a very good game if they would have put a bit more effort into developing the game itself rather than just check everything at marketing. But it's more about the marketing rather than the game.
My next nay is about variability. And let me expand on this. The game has variability. You have a million scoring tiles in the box and another million in the clear skies expansion, which is basically a stretch goal for the game. But then you focus on the main board of the game, and particularly I'm referring here to the standard contracts, which you have to place in particular positions in every game. So basically, your main board, when it comes to contracts, is 90% the same game after game. The only thing that changes there are the remote contracts and the connection tiles. It's these circular tiles that give you boost actions when you build a wind farm. But all the main tiles in the main board are exactly the same placed in every game. And I find this a bit deflating because there's not much other variability happening in the beginning of the game. So what are you going to do first? Okay, let's build a wind farm, or let's build a tower. And then what's your second action? The other one I didn't do, like a wind farm or a tower. So it seems to me very apparent that you start with these kind of actions all the time. Maybe that's me, but
yeah, it just didn't work for us very much, did it? Overall, the game feels samey, clunky, very simple, the same actions that you do, which are not very involving, and it feels like there is no connection within your actions at all. It's just do one, buy one kind of thing, and that's all that you do.
It's not an extremely bad game. I mean,
I'm not saying that, but when you pay so much money and it's so big...
I mean, for me, I played a couple of times. I'm happy that I played it, but that's me. I don't think I feel the need to play it again.
Like you've seen everything just by playing a couple of times.
Exactly. I saw everything, exactly. How about game recommendations?
I didn't think of that. I think you always take me... I know this moment comes every single time we do this video.
Can I remind you, a couple of days ago you were mentioning about a game that you want to suggest when we do this review for this game.
Oh, what did I say? I did say that. What did I say?
You mentioned about Salt and Sea.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Go for it.
Yes, Salt and Sea is my recommendation. And Salt and Sea kind of does the same thing, but it does it in a lake. And it does it with some sort of energy. It works the same on the same basis. You produce energy, but you dig down into the lake itself, and you gather some stuff and you produce energy that way. And again, it's contract based, and it has the same kind of loop that you go into where you harvest your energy. You go down beneath and you get your energy, you fulfill your contracts kind of situation. But it costs like a fifth of the money.
Yes, even less. And
even less.
Art seems similar.
Yes.
Like the color palette is the same.
Yes. But everything is very similar. Yes.
In Salt and Sea, I like two things that Pampero does not have. Apart from the very small footprint of the game, obviously.
It's published by De Beers, so the box is like this big.
Yes, it's like White Castle big. Yes.
Yeah.
But I like two things. I like the very smart card play, which can use the cards either as actions or as money. But also there's a stock market element over there that, it's common for all players. So I think that Salt and Sea is it's a much better game than Pampero, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. What's your game recommendation?
Yeah, what's my game recommendation?
I think you said something earlier and I said, I don't think it works very well.
Tell me.
I think you mentioned Kanban. You wanted to say.
Yeah, well, why I mentioned Kanban? Obviously, Julian Pombo, the designer of Pampero, has influences by Vital Lacerda. In fact, they have worked together in a game called Mercado de Lisboa.
De Lisboa, I remember
the small version of Lisboa. So yes, he has worked together with Vital Lacerda, and I think the influences are apparent. But I think, for me, a game like Kanban, which is not the most of the heaviest games of Vital, not like a Weather Machine or On Mars or like Inventions in that sense. Kanban is a more, let's say, manageable game complexity-wise, and the theme really works in Kanban. Like you build your cars, there's a particular circular motion around your actions that you do, and it feels so much better than Pampero itself. I think, yeah, that's my comparison there. Kanban. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And we should mention that we don't have the fancy edition of Kanban, the Kanban EV. We have the simple.
Where is it?
Yes, it's over there in the back. Yeah, over there.
Oh yeah, we have the old version.
The old
I'm
version.
happy with the old version.
I'm very happy with it too. It plays the same way.
Righty, that was it for today.
That was our review of Pampero.
I hope you enjoyed it.
And thank you so much for watching.
And I shall see you later.
Bye bye.